The Galactic Council chamber was a cacophony of languages, 1,000 alien voices layered with unique tones and timbres. The holographic chamber shimmered as planetary representatives, hailing from the far reaches of the galaxy, debated the fate of humanity. A single planet's voice had managed to send shockwaves through the Council's ironclad bureaucracy. "It's an anomaly," scoffed Representative Volker of the Drathaki Dominion, his scaled hands folded before him. The Drathaki were a warrior race, a proud species that had bent entire civilizations to their knees. Their fleet numbers are laughable, their technology barely interstellar. Yet, they resist our expansion and dare issue warnings to the Council? A murmur rippled through the chamber. The humans hadn't just resisted, they had pushed back. What made it worse was how little they had done. Entire fleets had vanished in the Sol system with no explanation. Probes sent to investigate never returned. And all the while, Earth's message remained chillingly consistent. "Please don't make us mad." From the center podium, a crystalline entity known as La Mera, who represented the enlightened Zyran collective, tilted its prism-like head. "Perhaps we are overreacting. Humanity is primitive. Their message is clearly a bluff." Its voice resonated like a symphony of wind chimes. At the back of the chamber, however, another race, the Othrans, sat in silence. Once, centuries ago, they too had dismissed humanity as insignificant. That had been before the skirmish of Proxima. They had tried to annex a human colony for its mineral-rich moons. They had sent warships bristling with advanced weaponry. None had returned. The Othran delegates shifted uncomfortably. It wasn't the memory of loss that haunted them, it was what came after. The humans had sent a single communique. No threats. No demands. Just 7 words. "Please don't make us mad. Stop now." And the Othrans had stopped. In one of the more isolated corners of the chamber, Admiral Saris of the Kelder Ascendancy quietly observed the unfolding drama. She had studied humanity extensively and found them perplexing. Despite their apparent lack of technological superiority, they thrived. Human ships were bulky and inelegant, their weapons primitive compared to those of more advanced civilizations. Yet time and again they had stood their ground against galactic powers. Saris leaned closer to her advisor, a young Keldran strategist named Kale. "What do we know about their psychological profiles?" she asked. Kale hesitated. "They are contradictory, Admiral. Humans are capable of extreme kindness and cooperation, yet they are also known for unpredictable acts of aggression. Their history is riddled with conflicts, but also remarkable ingenuity in overcoming them." "Unpredictable aggression," Saris mused. "That sounds like desperation." "It could be," Kale admitted. "Or it could be something worse." As the Council debated, humanity's lone representative, Ambassador Elena Vargas, waited in silence. She was seated at the edge of the chamber, her expression unreadable. Vargas had endured years of ridicule and dismissal from the galactic elite. Humanity's warnings had been met with laughter more often than not. But not today. Today the laughter had stopped. Vargas rose slowly, her voice calm but carrying the weight of iron. "Esteemed members of the Council, humanity has no desire for conflict. All we have ever asked is to be left in peace. Yet time and again we are provoked. You expand your empires, you test our patience, and you dismiss our warnings." Her gaze swept the chamber, and for the first time, there was no mockery in the alien eyes that met hers. "We say, please don't make us mad, because we mean it. You think us weak. You think us primitive. And perhaps by your standards we are. But you misunderstand us. Our warnings are not a threat. They are a plea." Volker of the Drathaki sneered, unable to resist. "A plea born of fear." Vargas turned her gaze directly to him, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "No. A plea born of restraint." The chamber fell silent. Elsewhere, on the outskirts of the Sol system, an alien flotilla had gathered. The Council had grown impatient with humanity's defiance. A coalition fleet, led by the Drathaki and reinforced by allies from across the galaxy, had been assembled to teach Earth a lesson. Hundreds of warships bristling with advanced weaponry loomed near the system's edge, their commanders confident in their superiority. They had dismissed humanity's warnings as the desperate bluster of an inferior species. "We will strike at dawn," Volker announced to his fleet over the command network. "The humans will beg for mercy before the day is through." In the cold void of space, the coalition ships moved into formation, their weapons trained on the small blue planet that dared to defy the galaxy. They had no idea what awaited them. Vargas ended her speech with a final, chilling statement. "You think you know humanity but you don't. You see our kindness as weakness. You see our patience as fear. You've forgotten one fundamental truth. She paused, letting the weight of her words hang in the air. We are very, very good at war. The council chamber erupted into chaos. But Vargas didn't stay to watch. She had said all she needed to. The galaxy's arrogance would be its undoing. For centuries, humanity had restrained itself. Now, it seemed they would have to show the universe why that restraint had been necessary. The coalition fleet moved in a tight phalanx as it breached the Sol system's perimeter. To the alien commanders, it was a routine operation, an overwhelming show of force to put the humans in their place. As their ships advanced, the coalition broadcasted a single message on all frequencies. Earth, this is the coalition fleet. Surrender immediately. Disarm your defenses and submit to our authority, or face annihilation. No response. On board the Drathaki flagship Crimson Talon, Admiral Volker's mandibles clicked with anticipation. He loomed over the tactical display, watching as Earth's scattered satellites and lone space station came into view. To him it was laughable. Pathetic, he growled. They don't even have a proper planetary defense grid. This will be over in minutes? But as the fleet advanced, something odd happened. The ship's sensors began to glitch. Readings flickered, failing to lock onto targets. A faint signal pulsed from the edge of the system, a strange rhythmic tone that repeated over and over. Kale, aboard the Kelder cruiser Vigilant Spear, frowned as he studied the signal. Admiral Saris, there's something peculiar about this frequency. It's old, human-made. But it's not a distress call or a surrender. Saris leaned closer. Then what is it? Kale hesitated. It's a countdown. Saris stiffened. A countdown to what? The final number flashed across the screen, 0. Earth's defenders had been silent for a reason. Deep beneath the surface, hidden in underground facilities and cloaked in electromagnetic shrouds, humanity's true military assets had been waiting. Across the globe, dormant systems roared to life. Massive railgun arrays emerged from hidden silos, their barrels crackling with energy. Fleets of automated drones, sleek and deadly, launched from hidden bunkers in the Arctic and the depths of the Pacific. Above Earth, a web of satellites that had once served as innocuous communication relays now transformed into an integrated, weaponized grid. On the surface, General Nadia Singh stood in the command center of Luna Base, Earth's strategically positioned military outpost on the moon. She watched the coalition fleets approach on a massive holographic display. They've crossed the line, she said grimly. Beside her, Captain Roy Anders smirked. They wanted a fight. Let's give them one. Singh nodded, her voice steady. Initiate Operation Revenant. Across the Sol system, humanity's counterattack began. The coalition fleet's first indication of trouble came as their long-range scanners were abruptly jammed. Volker growled in frustration, slamming his clawed fist against the console. What's happening? Get me a clear reading? But his demands were met with silence. One by one, the coalition's ships found themselves unable to communicate. A wave of electromagnetic interference swept through the fleet, disrupting their systems. Then came the drones. The human drones struck with precision and speed that bordered on impossible. Sleek and agile, they weaved through the coalition's defenses, delivering devastating payloads that tore through shields and hulls. Volker's fleet, so confident in its overwhelming firepower, found itself struggling to react. What is this? Volker roared. They're primitives? On the Vigilant Spear, Admiral Saris watched in growing horror as the tactical display filled with red markers. The humans' technology wasn't primitive, it was focused. Every strike was deliberate, exploiting weaknesses the coalition hadn't even realized they had. Kale turned to her, his face pale. Admiral, their tactics are brutal. It's as if they've been preparing for this exact scenario for centuries. Saris clenched her fists. Because they have. Back on Earth, General Singh issued her next command. Activate the Sentinels. Around the planet, massive orbital platforms began to shift. These were Earth's last resort weapons, kept hidden from the galaxy at large. The platforms unleashed beams of concentrated energy that cut through space like lightning, slicing through the coalition's warships with terrifying precision. The Drathaki flagship Crimson Talon was one of the first to fall. Volker's final moments were spent screaming in rage and disbelief as the beam obliterated his ship, taking him and his crew with it. The coalition fleet, once a formidable force, now found itself in chaos. Ships broke formation, commanders panicked, and retreat became the only option. But humanity wasn't done. Kale stared at the tactical display, his voice trembling. Admiral, we have to retreat. This isn't a battle, it's an execution. Admiral Saris nodded grimly. Signal the fleet to fall back. We're outmatched. As the coalition ships attempted to flee, they found their paths blocked. Human ships, once thought to be primitive, had been lying in wait. The blockade was swift and merciless, cutting off any hope of escape. On Luna Base, General Singh watched as the remnants of the coalition fleet were surrounded. She took a deep breath before giving the final order. Send the message. From Earth, a single transmission was broadcast to the coalition forces. You were warned. The signal cut off and the assault resumed. Admiral Saris and Kale were among the few survivors. Their damaged ship drifted at the edge of the Sol system, its systems barely functional. Saris stared out the viewport, watching as Earth's defenses returned to their dormant state, the battle over. They let us live, Kale said quietly. Saris nodded. Because they wanted us to deliver a message. What message? Saris turned to him, her expression hollow. That humanity doesn't need to conquer the galaxy. It already owns it, it just hasn't bothered to claim it yet. As their crippled ship limped away, Saris couldn't shake the chilling realization. Humanity had been holding back. And the galaxy had just learned why they always said, please don't make us mad. Admiral Saris could hardly breathe as she watched the coalition fleet disintegrate before her eyes. The humans had turned the tide of battle with a precision and brutality the galaxy had never seen. What was meant to be a decisive show of coalition dominance had become a massacre. The bridge of the Vigilant Spear was in chaos. Officers shouted over each other, reports of destroyed ships flooding the comms. But none of it mattered, there was no salvaging this. Saris stood frozen, staring at the holographic display that marked each fallen coalition ship in red. They're toying with us, Kale said, his voice barely above a whisper. Saris turned to him. What did you say? Kale gestured to the tactical display. They're not wiping us out all at once. They're taking their time. They're making sure we understand how badly we've underestimated them. Back on Earth, General Nadia Singh monitored the battlefield from Luna Base. The humans had carefully orchestrated every move of the counteroffensive. The coalition's fleet was in shambles, its forces fragmented and disorganized. Yet Singh knew the battle wasn't just about destroying the enemy, it was about sending a message. Status report, she commanded. Captain Roy Anders replied, the fleet is retreating, but we've disabled their hyperdrives. They're boxed in. Singh nodded. Good. Target their remaining carriers. Leave their smaller ships intact. Anders raised an eyebrow. You're letting some of them go? They need to carry the story back home, Singh said. They need to remember this day for generations. Saris's ship was one of the few left operational. But it wasn't by luck. The humans had deliberately spared them. The coalition's strongest ships, the massive carriers and battleships that symbolized their power, were annihilated first. The smaller support ships were left untouched, as if to emphasize their insignificance. They're leaving us alive, Kale said, his voice trembling. Saris clenched her fists. No. They're leaving us as witnesses. The humans' attack was relentless. Their drones moved with surgical precision, striking critical systems and ensuring no coalition ship could escape. The once proud fleet had been reduced to a collection of broken, burning hulls. But it wasn't just the weapons that terrified Saris. It was the way the humans fought. There was no hesitation, no mercy. Each strike was calculated, designed not just to destroy but to humiliate. On board the Vigilant Spear, Kale's voice broke the silence. Admiral, we've received another transmission from Earth. Saris braced herself. Put it through. The transmission was brief. A single human voice spoke, calm and measured. This could have been avoided. You were warned. Saris closed her eyes, the weight of her failure crushing her. They had dismissed humanity as weak, as primitive. Now they were paying the price. At the edge of the Sol system, the coalition's remaining ships drifted, crippled and defenseless. Earth's forces held their position, ensuring no one could escape. On the bridge of Luna Base, General Singh gave her final order. Stand down. Let them leave. Anders frowned. That's it? We're just letting them go? Singh turned to him, her expression unreadable. We've made our point. If they want to test us again, they know what to expect. The remnants of the coalition fleet limped away, their broken ships barely functional. Saris and Kale watched as Earth's forces withdrew, their weapons powering down. They're letting us live, Kale said, his voice filled with disbelief. Not out of mercy, Saris replied. Out of pity. They want us to spread the word. As the Vigilant Spear limped back to coalition space, Saris couldn't shake the image of Earth's defenses. The humans had proven themselves to be more than capable of defending their world. They had shown the galaxy that they were a force to be reckoned with. But it wasn't just their technology that terrified Ceres. It was their restraint. The humans could have annihilated the coalition fleet entirely, yet they chose not to. They had sent a message, one that would echo across the galaxy. Humanity wasn't to be underestimated. And Ceres knew deep down that they had barely scratched the surface of Earth's true power. The coalition fleet returned to its core systems battered and broken, its ships mere shadows of their former glory. Word spread faster than Ceres could have imagined. Across the coalition, the news of the Sol campaign's disastrous outcome rippled like a shockwave. Once, the coalition had been a beacon of unity and strength. Now, it was a fractured alliance, its leadership questioning not only its decisions but its very survival. Ceres found herself in the Hall of Judgments, standing before the coalition's Supreme Council. She had expected anger, condemnation, perhaps even exile. What she faced was worse: silence. The counselors sat in their towering seats, their faces grim. Finally, Counselor Dren, a towering figure with silvery skin that shimmered like moonlight, broke the silence. "Admiral Ceres, you commanded the largest fleet this council has ever assembled. And yet, you returned to us in defeat." Ceres lifted her head, meeting Dren's eyes. It wasn't just defeat. It was a message. The council murmured among themselves, their voices hushed. Counselor Dren leaned forward. "Explain." "They warned us," Ceres said, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. "From the beginning, the humans told us, do not make us mad." We dismissed it as bravado, as the posturing of a primitive species. But they weren't posturing. They were warning us of what they're capable of. Counselor Maresh, a reptilian figure with emerald scales, hissed. "And what, exactly, are they capable of?" Ceres took a deep breath. "Everything. They didn't just defeat us with superior technology. They outmaneuvered us, outthought us. They used our own arrogance against us. And when they had the opportunity to annihilate us, they chose not to. They wanted us to return and spread the word." Across the coalition's worlds, the story of Earth's retaliation spread like wildfire. Governments debated their next steps. Military leaders scrambled to reassess their strategies. But the people, ordinary citizens who had once seen humanity as a minor threat, were now terrified. On the industrial world of Nerex, workers stopped mid-shift to watch holovids of the battle over Sol. On the academic planet of Varan, scholars debated the implications of humanity's restraint. And on the capital world of Elthis, the coalition's leaders met in secret, grappling with a simple, terrifying question. What happens if humanity decides to strike first? Back on Earth, General Nadia Singh stood before the United Terran Assembly. The chamber was silent as she delivered her report, her voice firm and unwavering. "The coalition has retreated," she said. "Their fleet is in ruins. They will think twice before challenging us again." The assembly erupted in applause, but Singh raised a hand, silencing them. "This is not a victory to celebrate. It's a warning. We've shown the galaxy what we're capable of when provoked. But we must remember what it took to reach this point. The loss of lives, the destruction. It's a price we should never be eager to pay again." In the quiet solitude of her quarters, Admiral Ceres replayed the transmission from Earth over and over. The human voice echoed in her mind, "This could have been avoided. You were warned." Kale entered, his expression weary. "Admiral, the Council is demanding a formal report." Ceres nodded. "They'll get it. But it won't change anything." Kale hesitated. "Do you think they'll try again?" "No," Ceres said. "But someone else might. And when they do, humanity will remind them why they shouldn't." Months passed and the galaxy settled into an uneasy peace. Trade routes reopened, diplomatic channels were restored, and life returned to a semblance of normalcy. But beneath the surface, the fear lingered. In the dark corners of coalition space, whispers of humanity's wrath grew into legends. Tales of Earth's vengeance spread, each story more exaggerated than the last. Some said the humans had harnessed black holes as weapons. Others claimed they could control time itself. On Earth, humanity prepared for the next challenge. They knew the peace wouldn't last forever. But they also knew they were ready. As General Singh stood on the observation deck of Luna Base, gazing at the stars, she spoke softly to herself. "They know better now. But if they forget, we'll remind them." And so, the galaxy carried on, forever changed by the lesson humanity had taught. A simple lesson repeated in countless languages on countless worlds. Never make them mad.